Okay, I'm making a quick little video on making some SCD muffins that my son loves, and thought I'd share it. It's a good way for him anyway, for me to slip in some vegetables. And anyway, basically what I do is a couple of really ripe bananas, some good local honey, about I don't know, I just eyeball it, but it's about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup of honey. And a couple of carrots that have been shredded fine, like right here, real fine. And then same thing with the zucchini. With the zucchini though, I'll do it on a plate right here. And then I'll take a couple of paper towels and I'll mush down and sort of tilt the plate to drain off a lot of liquid. It takes 3 large eggs, okay? These are kind of expensive eggs, but they're pasture raised, or I think they're organic, but so they're good eggs. And the other ingredients are, should have thought to pull this stuff out before I started to make a video about it, is cinnamon. We use organic cinnamon and organic ground nutmeg. It's going to be about 2 teaspoons of this, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of that. It's a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 3/4 of a tablespoon, or excuse me, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. We use this right here. I believe my wife discovered that this is SCD compliant as well. And of course we use sea salt. And that is all of the ingredients. So you're going to put all the wet stuff and all the spices in here, and then allow it to on low, and then as it starts to break down, you can move it up to like 2, you know, and let that kind of break down for a little while. I've also, usually what I make for him is butternut squash, and I can put in some zucchini as well. And butternut squash, you'll cut that in half, stick it in a casserole dish with a little bit of water. You turn it upside down, you know, the inside of it face down. Put it in an oven, oh, I don't know, probably 350 to 400, anything in there, and just cook it for a good 45 minutes. Let it cool down and stuff. And I usually get a 1/2 of a big old butternut squash, but one of the smaller ones, but it's a large vegetable, into one batch of these muffins. And again, with that, I need to put it on the plate, and use a paper towel and get some of the moisture out of it, because it has a lot of water and moisture. So yeah, so oh, the other ingredient I didn't mention, which is important, is it takes 2 cups of almond flour. We found that this almond flour right here is great. It's from Kirkland, which you get at Costco. I'm sure there's some other good stuff. I think we tried Bob's Red Mill, but we are members of Costco, so we get this stuff relatively affordably. I think this is about $13 or $14 a bag, which if you've ever, for 3 pounds. So I think that's a pretty good price when you look around. And the honey we used, we're in Georgia. Again, we get at Costco is this stuff. Not endorsing anything, but this is really good honey. And this I've seen at Whole Foods for quite a bit more, as you might expect. Got this at Costco, it was 13 bucks. So that's the recipe. You cook it at 350. I put it in a muffin pan with coconut oil, a coconut, whatever. What do you call it? Sorry, this was a last minute video. I'm not really thinking organic. Yeah, coconut oil, but it's like a shortening. Anyway, I'll put some of that on wax paper and I'll swish it around one of these bad boys right here. And it'll make 12 muffins easy. Sometimes it makes a little bit more if I put too much stuff in. And 350 for about 26 minutes, 27 minutes here in Georgia, in Atlanta. And I guess we're at sea level. I think that's supposed to make a difference. I don't know. Maybe it's only with boiling water, but whatever the deal is, that's what we bake it at. And I'll check it with a stick. Usually I'll leave it in there for a couple more minutes until it looks right. So So I'll show you some more in a minute. Okay, so here's the beginnings. It's got 3 eggs, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, half teaspoon ground nutmeg, half teaspoon sea salt, and 3/4 teaspoon baking soda, and the 2 ripe bananas. If you wanted to make banana bread and leave some of this other stuff out, you can. I'd probably just throw in 1 extra banana, maybe even 2, because I put a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of vegetables that go into it, and these really come out great. So anyway, put that on there. I usually, as a rule of thumb, try not to have this thing plugged in when I'm handling this. Oh, great, it's plugged in. All right. So we'll just mix it up. And usually when I'm mixing, I'm working on shredding the vegetables up and getting them ready to dump in. So I'm gonna try this out. And it doesn't have to be like really broken down a whole lot, the bananas, but I like to get it pretty creamy. Once I put the almond flour in there, it tends to, because it gets thicker, break down even more. Okay, that's good. All right. Now, like I said, I'm just gonna finally grate these, and then I'll show you what I did. Okay, so here's the shredded zucchini and shredded carrot. I normally do like 1 big carrot, so this is 2 sort of medium size when I make this combination. Like I said, you can use butternut squash or just extra bananas if you don't want to do that. The other thing I do, I didn't mention, is to get the calories up on it a little bit. It's got plenty of calories with all the eggs, and the almond flour is pretty rich, honey and everything, but I'll put in a couple of tablespoons of this. No need to measure it, just use a spoon and, you know, get a big dollop and put it in there, and you're good to go. I believe that this is an SCD compliant raw almond butter. I don't really know. I leave it up to anybody who's watching this to determine what is SCD compliant if you're trying to follow it very strictly. All right, you recording? Okay. All right, so here's what I do to drain off. You can see there's some liquid already on the plate. To drain off the liquid, I'll take some paper towel, kind of mush it down. And are you getting this from this angle? I got my little buddy give me a hand, and I'll just kind of press against this like this, and you can just see like there's already about a 1/4 cup came out of the liquid, which will just make them too soggy. I'll start at the top, kind of roll my hand down like this, like that. Okay, and I'll use some of the other paper, the rest of the paper towel, to soak up a little more. Okay, that's it. You can hit stop. And for the carrots, what I'll do is take a paper towel just to get a little bit of the moisture. I know there's a lot of vitamins in this juice and everything, but sacrifice a little bit of that to make these things turn out. So got a little bit of that, not too much. Basically, yeah, you just stick it all in here. Oh, I need my other hand to do this. Okay, so everything's in here, 2 cups of almond flour, all the other ingredients, and you're gonna start this up slow or it's gonna go everywhere. Just whatever this first notch is. For some reason, it's looking very thick. It's a little thicker than it normally looks. It might have been, I might have put a little bit too much almond flour. Usually I'll start with 1 1/2, and if it looks too wet, I'll put another 1/2 cup to kind of soak some of that out. And it's starting to look a little better. I usually need to turn it up on 4, especially when I have squash, because that squash has got to be beaten up pretty good to break down. basically it. No, I forgot. I got to put this almond butter in. Let me do that real quick. So I put some of the almond butter in there, and I believe it's like about 90 calories per. What does it say? Let's see. 2 tablespoons is 190 calories. So I think I'll probably put in 3 or more tablespoons actually. I put big old dollops. The reason we do that is just my little guy, we want him to get some calories and help him put on some weight too. So that looks about right. That's normally the consistency. When you bring this thing up, you'll need a spatula to kind of knock some of this stuff down and get stuck. Sorry, I'm doing this on the phone. I didn't really plan to do a video, but I thought, why not? Because this is, he'll eat about, God, I don't know, 4 of these a day. And I can feel good about it, so can my wife, because out of the 12, he's getting 1/3 of a whole zucchini. And since I used 2 carrots this time, he's getting, what would that turn out to? And let's see if I can do my math. Well, he's getting 2/3 of a carrot, 2/3 of a pretty big carrot every day just in that. Of course, we give him, vegetables and other meals and stuff, but this is a good way to get some stuff in there. All right, I'm gonna put this in the pan. I've already greased these up real good. I don't know if you got a coconut issue or whatever. You can use some butter or whatever your shortening choice is. I don't like to use the cups. Kind of like it like this. It has a nice kind of outer coating on it when it's cooked this way. And just gonna spoon it in there evenly. Okay, so here they are. They're pretty full. Let's see. But I've done them this full before and they come out fine. You don't have to fill them up this much, especially if you do a double batch. I'll stick them in there. Set time. This is the slowest timer in the world. Okay. Alright. Okay. They are not quite the right color on top, so I'm going to give them a few more minutes. Alright, I believe they're ready, and I'm just going to check them to be sure. The toothpick. Actually, I might let them go a little bit longer. And that came out clean. I don't think you can really see. Maybe you can. I'll let it go just a minute or 2 longer. The reason I like to kind of do these well done but not burned is because of all the moisture from the vegetables. If I do it just right, you can't even tell. So put it in there for 1 minute. Anyway, here's the finished product. Took them out of the oven. That's the color, right? And that's about it. So, like I said, these are really, really good. I would eat them up, but I'd try to save them for him. This recipe, by the way, was inspired by somebody else with a cookbook. Let's see if I've got it over here. Well, I believe it's called Against All Grains. And it's kind of where I got the basic recipe for, I think it was zucchini bread. But then I started making tweaks on it by adding different vegetables, different quantities of vegetables, more of the almond flour, mainly because I was adding more vegetables. And I had more honey in than she did, but the girl who wrote that book. But anyway, I'm not endorsing any of the products I showed you or the book or whatever, but don't want to take full credit for the recipe. I did get inspired by somebody else like we all did. Yeah, try this recipe out. It's really, really good. I figured out the calories on it a little bit ago. Roughly, it's around, with everything I put in there, probably 25 to or 100, 2,500 or so, give or take a little bit, calories. So each one of these has got about 200 calories. That's when I used the almond butter, all the almond butter I used, the extra almond flour, the honey, all of that stuff is good calorie source. So this is super healthy.